tuned to my planet.
Can set a minimum ratchet. Now, in Deming High School's case, the solar project is planned with about 4 hours worth of batteries, so that small spikes don't cause you to have a big bill for the whole year. Otherwise, it's very difficult to make everything coordinated because solar tails off pretty much at about 5 p.m. And we want to switch to a different rate set so that currently you're on a rate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays is the high price stuff. But we're able to switch you to a different rate, which is available, but you got to request it, that there's a low rate during the day, and then 5 to 10 p.m. is when it's expensive, but that's when most of the schools are out. And if you have some special event like a basketball game or whatever, then that battery amount can take care of that. If you look at the two graphs, the little one, we're talking 99% of the prior year's usage, but the other graph is showing you the kind of the greenish curve. That's the solar production, and the bars are your actual usage for that particular school. And so they don't match, and they're never going to perfectly match just because you have longer sunlight in the summer, less in the winter, and you have air conditioning that spikes a lot of power during hot days. And so there's a mismatch. So having batteries and then working through the rate design to get the best economic value is what we're doing. There's a note in yellow at the bottom of that whereas the base case, which is already underway, you would have about 4 hours of average usage worth of battery capacity you would carry. In the grant, we're going to multiply roughly 12 times the amount of batteries so that the district has a lot more capability and can sell power back and forth to utility, which over the long run is where the most savings and dollar advantages to the school will be. The next page says grid modernization. It's got a picture of a battery pack. It's a confidential proposal for microgrids. The proposal has to go out for basically competitive bids at some point before you can accept the money from MNERD. But you have a base, which we've provided a base quote so that you have something to submit to MNERD and say, here's a project. If a better project comes along, there's no commitment to us. It's just you could take someone else. The only commitment we ask you is that you keep everything confidential, so if someone else makes a proposal, they don't need to look at ours first and then make a copy. They have to come up with their own proposal. But the proposal that we have for a microgrid, zero cost to the district. There is no cost to the district. District-wide, there's 25 schools, battery, controls, utility coordination, rate selection, all of that is part of it. It will automatically isolate if the power goes off. So it's like the old uninterruptible batteries where the lights don't even flicker. It automatically senses that and switches in milliseconds. In this proposal, we are guaranteeing first full year savings of $312,000 net to the district. Let me repeat that. We're guaranteeing $312,000 first full year and $25 million over 30 years. How can we guarantee that? We take what your prices have been, set it at 30% below that so that you're paying 30% less than what P&M's charges would be. And then we don't have any increases unless P&M also has an increase. Most PPAs have a fixed price and then automatic increases that are not tied to actual inflation or cost. And then when you look at the size of a battery pack, I've got the dimensions there, 43, so about 4 foot by almost 5 foot by 93. So these things sit outside. That's 210 kW. That's bigger than most of the schools would have, but it would be multiple units on like the high school. And then the last page, again, we've highlighted that there's no preference in a competitive RFP. It would be done for grid modernization. Grants are first come, first serve until the $63 million is gone. So we're very much encouraging the district to use the base case, submit the grant application, which all the paperwork is there. All we need is a signature, and we could submit it tomorrow, literally. But it's first come, first serve. If it's submitted soon, it'll begin the evaluations next month in February, and then they should have an award decision the following month. But there's competition within a given month, but after that, it's whoever gets there first can get the money. And because you already had projects going on and we were already prepared, I think we're ahead of virtually everybody else. And so I think there's a very high probability the grant will be given to Deming if you submit, or allow me to submit for you. The total project evaluation is $32 million. That's based on an appraisal with the people we work with that use the IRS guidelines for how to appraise projects, solar projects or renewable energy projects. The grant request is for $25.5 million, which is 77% of the total project value. The match resource comes from the PPA for the existing solar projects that you've got going on. So none of that do you have any cost match that you're actually having to pay. Everything is zero cost to the district because the match is basically the PPAs that have already been set up that are guaranteeing to save you money from day one. The combined economic benefit, which includes both what the value is to the community, how it will affect lower rates to the community, and what the school saves, came out to $53.5 million. So it's a little over double what the amount of the grant is. There's double the value to the community as there is for the grant request, which is a very good value for state funds to be used. Although for the grant application itself, there is no cost evaluation. That's not part of what they're looking at because this is something that's fairly new. But I think it's better if you have a 2-to-1 value than if you have a higher cost than what the value is and hope something else will come later. And with that, I'd open up to any questions you have.
I just have one clarifying question before board members ask questions, Mr. Buckus. You had mentioned, and didn't catch your introduction, and forgive me because I'm new to the district. Like you said, you had contracted a couple of years ago for $1 a year, but then in your presentation, you mentioned we. What business are you associated with on the we part? That way it's clear for the community, and again, that way we know. Thank you.
I own Ecomax Solar, which is proposing to do the grant information, which is very heavily an amount for working with the utility, working with the Public Regulatory Commission, and with a group of engineers, which would mainly, we're looking to contract with NMSU to do that. But I would lead all of that in doing this project. I've also worked with other companies to do projects. I don't go out and manually do the labor anymore. I'm past a good age to do that. So the installation of the solar that's on all of your premises is to be done by Border Energy, who's been doing solar since 2018. The projects are being financed, so there's 2 separate companies doing the finance. So Sunwealth is doing all but 3 of the project, and Sunshire is doing 3 of them. So working with different companies to try and get the best total situation. But I work with multiple companies and work with them and put it all together. Did that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Buckus. I'll turn it over to President Crumley.
Any questions by the board?
I have a question. So when will we get our first canopy? Because we've already discussed this and approved it, so when will we be getting our first canopy, realistically? Because it's already been 2 years, or 2.5, or whatever it's been.
Having talked to the contractor that's doing the installation yesterday, the first 12 installations will probably be done by the end of February. And I don't remember which ones were canopy without going back to my notes. But I know that they plan to have all of it installed before July 4th because the tax rules changed. And so there's a significant change in what the tax credit that they get as the owner and installer. But I could get you a more specific date and send that to you on which ones, because out of the 25 sites, I don't remember which. I could look it up and tell you.
No, that's fine.
I just want to know when because we've been waiting a while, you know.
It's been a long time.
And so you're talking about something from the first
From
project?
the first project, yes, from the first project.
Any other questions by the board?
You said the financing side, why is, from a government entity point of view, why is there multiple people financing this? Why isn't it just a kind of one-stop shop? You said that there was 2 companies financing that?
Sunwell is a Massachusetts public benefits corporation. They're doing all but 3 of the projects, and they did a better rate, but they didn't do projects with batteries. Then the other 3 projects are being done by Sunshire, because they also do battery projects as well as.
I'm so sorry, that was my people. Sorry. I'm sorry.
But their rate's a little higher. And so that was the reason we did as much as possible with the lowest rate provider and then went to another one.
I have a question also. So at the end of the presentation, you have a list of all the partners that you've had. It says City of El Paso, Otero County, just all of. So have those projects been completed or are they in progress?
You're not getting that from the presentation, you get that from the
grant.
submittal.
Yes.
And what you're
Oh.
looking at is, I think, Border Energy's information. All of those projects have been done, and I don't know what years, but since 2018, he's done thousands of installations. His company, not him by himself, but
Border
he's done
Energy.
thousands. But those are all completed, there's pictures of them and so forth.
And so those were also through a grant process, the way that you're submitting for this?
No, I think virtually none of them were done through a grant process. They were done based on energy savings and federal tax credits.
Okay.
So just a good clarifying point, pardon me, President Crumley. So the first solar project that you all approved a couple years ago, that was, as Mr. Buckus said, right, that is, there was no grant for that. That was just the developers were able to access some federal tax credits, and then we granted them authorization to install and own those shades and solar panels on our property, right? So there was literally, right, no cost, no money changing hands, with the idea that through the power purchase agreement, we could get up to a 10% reduction in our energy bills. Okay, so then we're putting those up. And then when those go up, we have what we're talking about now is the second project that Mr. Bacchus just talked about. That is to kind of grid modernization, some microgrids, some batteries that tie to that. But the second thing is a grant process through the New Mexico Energy, Mineral, and I'm going to get the last one department that they would grant. So first one, no grant, no money, just access. The district allowing access to build something. This second one, this thing that we're considering now, is a grant or an additional project where there's grant money involved, and then again, access for that company to install and maintain these additional devices on that property. So they're a little bit different from what you approved prior.
Okay.
So with one of them
It
being,
triples the savings.
with one of them being a grant versus how it was done before, how does that process work?
Based on MNER's schedule and information, for the ones that have already been submitted, they're saying they'll review the following, month after submitted, and then make this announcement the following. The funds are, to kind of, first off, there's some activity by the installation group. They then invoice for that to the school district. The school district then sends that to the grant people. They get the money from the grant, and then they pay the invoice. There's never a situation where you're having to pull anything out of your own working capital or cash flow or anything of that nature. There's a commitment within the contracts that no one who's working on the project will have any request or obligation from the school district itself for any payments.
It would still have to flow through us. It wouldn't be,
Yes, it could flow through you, it would flow through the district because
Right.
the district is the applicant. The grants are only available to governmental entities, so private businesses are not eligible for this particular set of grants. You know, cities, counties, schools, universities, those are the only eligible entities.
so in a clarifying question, this graph that you have for us right here, this is like absolutely no solar? Not like what we already have, and then if we add to it, this is like base none?
Can I come over there?
Yeah, I didn't remember it.
So, I'll talk loud for the audience's benefit. So what you're looking at here, these vertical lines are the actual electric usages for the one of the high school's biggest meter. The kind of greenish overlay is the solar production. So when the green is above the black, it's fully providing all the power. When the black is above it, then part of it is not being provided. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But that's why you want batteries, so that we can cover that more, and especially because the demand charge, which is any 15 minutes in a month, is such a big factor. You want enough batteries, and more batteries create more savings because you can shift when the power is used. And ultimately, you can buy power in the low times and sell it in the high times so that, and I'm not promising this, but over the next few years, if it goes as it should and it becomes a competitive market, then you should be able to triple your savings to $1 million a year. Because if you're buying your power at a price that's half as much and selling it at the higher price, then you generate additional revenue for the district. And that's where we want to go. And it's with all 4 districts that we've done this package, which are listed on the letter from PNM for the 4 districts that
Yes.
they're recommending.
Mr. Backus, I have a few questions, and then I think we'll have to move on so we can cover everything else on our agenda this evening. I'm confused about what your relationship is to the first existing solar project. I remember from over a year ago, you came, you presented about the status of that project, and I think there was an explanation that your company was previously involved and that it wasn't involved anymore. So what is your relationship now? Like, do you work for any of these companies? Or how do you come to be the person, I guess, versus these contractors to come let us know what the status of everything is?
So I'm the point person for all of the companies to come and follow up and to review and to do all of the work related to connecting with the utility, connecting with the Peak Saver program, and another district that I worked with at no charge, I think recently got a check for 12 grand because of the Peak Saver program. I set up all and do those kinds of things. The relationship with the funding companies is that they pay me a fee for projects that actually go through. So that's how I earn a living. And so whether it's Sunwealth and Sunshire, when they get actual installations done, would pay me a fee at that point. They don't pay until it's installed.
So you're essentially a contractor for these businesses?
I'm an independent
Like consultant.
Consultant.
representative, but yes, I contract with them to do a portion of the work.
Okay. So
On
so
the-
as far as Deming Public Schools goes, though, we're not paying you a consultant fee other than the dollar you mentioned, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then the other thing that I was really confused about, and you mentioned it in your presentation about the draft grant application being confidential, and I'm not understanding as a board member how that could be considered confidential now that it's been given to all of us. I think it's public.
At the bottom of every page on the grant application, it says confidential unless selected.
Right, but we are subject to disclosure of public information as board. And so I don't think we can keep that confidential.
If someone files an open records request, give it to them, no problem. But don't intentionally make it public because you're going to need to do an RFP. And everyone else that may want to do the same work that I've done to present a proposal needs to do their own proposal without having the benefit of looking at mine. And that's all we've requested, to say, don't hand this out to other people. They need to do their own work. And I've not had any responses that said that wasn't, there's a conflict of interest when you put together a package and then you bid on it.
Agreed.
And so that's a public conflict of interest. But the reality also is that if you don't have someone to put the package together, the school district would never do it, because you don't have that expertise and all of that. You need a base proposal to apply for a grant. And so all we've said is keep our proposal as a base, and then if you choose someone else and they've done their own work, you have no obligation to pay us for any of the work. You have no obligation to give us any preference. It's just we said, let everybody compete fairly and hold our information that's in the packets, which are not given out to the public here. I mean, this may be public. But that's all we're saying. And if you get an open records request or something of that nature, fine. But if a competitor files an open records request and then uses my data, I don't think that they're going to be evaluated very well.
And so you mentioned that, there's just no way that the district would go and submit for this grant themselves. So what happens if the district decides not to move forward with your proposal at all?
If you don't submit for a grant application, then you obviously won't get the money, and some other entity probably will.
But the district can submit for the grant money outside of your services, right?
Certainly, if you want to use what I presented, you can do that. If you want to come up with some other plan and program, you could certainly do that.
Okay.
I just haven't heard any indication that there was anyone in the district that suggested they could come up with the numbers and so forth to submit an application that meets all the requirements, because it is competitive. You've got to meet all the requirements within, and they give you the points at MNERD for what would be approved. And if you don't have everything, then it won't be approved.
I think it's twofold, not to interrupt you, but I think it's probably twofold. And one, that we've sat on this for 2.5 years, and typically, I think as a board or as a government entity, a lot of times the practice of business is to carry stuff over to another year is discouraged. And so us sitting here and listening to this again for the 2.5 years later, you may not get any of that feedback, because I think we as a board probably are under the impression that this was done and we moved on from it. And now we're revisiting back again. And I'll just say this, the concern that I have is there's a lot of working pieces, and we may not have any control over those working pieces. And for us to be stewards of taxpayer money, it's a little concerning for me. That's just the concern that I have.
Go ahead, Mr. Bacchus.
When you contract or decide not to contract with MNERD, everything goes through you. If you submit the application and then they select you and you're not comfortable, you can say, no, thank you. You don't have to sign a contract with us. And then it'll go to someone else in the next round. But if you don't submit and the money gets all taken, then you've lost the opportunity. But it's always totally in your control.
Mr. Bacchus, I loved everything about what you had said previously.
Yeah.
It's been 2.5 years, and this would have got, I just feel we should see some progress. We should see some buildings up. We should see something. And that's my biggest concern, is we have not seen anything, period.
And members of the board, let me just share this. And again, you have an option here later in action, take action. But I'll just say a couple of things based on what I've learned and what I've heard today for the feedback from the board. One, we have a separate existing solar project that we have not yet seen the progress which was expected. Okay. Now we're being asked to consider a grant to add some additional systems to that solar project. From again, arriving new, not being part of the first project decision, I understand that there may be grant money available. However, there may be some wisdom in considering, hey, before we consider adding to a current solar project, we need to see this initial one come to completion before we consider anything additional. Granted, this grant may not be available when that one comes to conclusion. However, I think we recognize that green and solar energy projects are a big push in the state, and when this first project is completed, we may be able to step back and go, okay, we've got this done. Here's some additional grants or tax credits or something else, right? Then we maybe possibly consider something second. Again, this being a grant situation versus a company taking on everything and the tax credits. That as a superintendent, evaluating some of the information that I came in the middle of on, that is where I'm at. So I'll kind of leave that as maybe my final word for that, unless you have anything else, President Crumley, on this item, and then we can consider for action later.
And I think the only thing that I would add is I take a serious issue with wrapping my head around having a grant application prepared by an entity that 100% intends to bid later. I understand that you can mark it up all over the place as much as you want, that just because you're doing it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get it. But as someone, as a community member even, or a parent, and as a board member who has responsibility to be responsible financial stewards, to be transparent, to follow the law, I take serious issue with that. I don't think this structure, the way that it's presented, does that. I'm not comfortable with it, and I personally would not support advancing it. I don't know if any other board members have any questions or comment before we can move on to the next item. Thank you, Mr. Backus.
I need to go to another meeting. It's a legislative meeting in Las Cruces, so if you have questions later or whatever, I'm happy to help whenever, and if you want to just table it, great. We can work on it whenever you're ready. Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Backus.
On to Regulation JIHR, Student Interrogation, Searches, and Arrests. Superintendent Wolgemuth.
Okay, we might got these slightly out of order with our, there they are. Madam President, members of the board, we had talked a little bit earlier about, we're purchasing the, you'll have an item to consider this evening to approve the purchase of the the open gate weapons detection systems for our secondary schools. We've had this discussion prior. We did make some revisions to this search and seizure policy to allow for that universal screening. One of our attorneys that helped us mark this up was unavailable to join us this evening. She had to cancel last minute, but I can step us through some important things here. we gave this to Mr. Santiago at our law firm, and she said, really, we want to do kind of a more comprehensive review of this policy, because in previous meetings, in addition, you had expressed, in addition to the metal detector type of items, the universal screening, you had some questions about, hey, could we add in our policy about a canine detection dog for weapons and drugs? And there had been expressed some interest in, hey, can we write into policy some items, some wording having to do with random wand searches of random classes that are selected, right? All ways to mitigate, having prohibited items in our schools. So I'm going to step you through a couple of edits that Mr. Santiago made that didn't have to do with the searches and seizures. I have a couple of questions I'm going to follow up with her on, and I want to make sure I get some feedback on that. And then the rest of this is actually pretty simple. So if you go to the top there, Charles, so we can see the heading of this. So you'll notice these first two paragraphs are similar. Our attorney did strike out that first paragraph, but she added in an addition, the second paragraph that is very similar. What I want to point out, go down a little bit, Charles. What I want to point out here is the major difference here is, and these are questions I'm going to follow up with Mr. Santiago on, is that, again, the written authorization to have interviews, later arrest are still there. However, one thing I didn't get the clarification I needed on this meeting prior is the principal will request identification and written authorization. In this case, she's saying for a subpoena or a warrant for a law enforcement officer to interview one of our kids. Okay, I get that if it's a law enforcement officer that's responding to school for a non-school related situation. But if it's one of our SROs that is supporting us in a violation of the law that happened at school under our control, I need some clarification from Ms. Santiago on how that applies, right? That wording of subpoena or warrant. Other than that, it's just very similar to the first paragraph. She did some edits, obviously updating it from peace officer to law enforcement. If you go down, Charles, a little bit, please. Again, some similar things here. If the student is taking into custody, she added in some wording here, right? It is very appropriate and in our policies to make sure that there is a form that the law enforcement official signs. However, right, she is mentioning here again, I think it's similarly tied to our first thing about interviews, when there's a law enforcement arrest, to provide a criminal warrant. Now again, I understand, right, a law enforcement official is coming in to a situation they're investigating that has nothing to do with the school. We want them to basically, have the proper reason to arrest a student on campus. However, we know that sometimes there's instances where students may need to be temporarily detained on campus, by an SR or a responding officer that may not particularly define an arrest. So I need to get some clarification on that. Again, tied to our law enforcement partners responding to things that we're requesting they support us on. So I wanted to point that out, and I'm going to get clarification on those two items.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
also?
ma'am.
On this paragraph that is here, right here, where on the last side it starts, arresting officer will be required to establish. I would like that to say provide proper identification.
Okay. Got it.
And it does in other parts of it.
Okay.
But I just feel like establish is a.
Okay, fair enough. I'll have Mr. Turner make a note of that. So again, I'm going to get clarification on those two items. Any feedback on me getting clarification on those two items? Okay, just want to make sure I shared that with you. Now, the rest of this is where she made her updates to cover those three areas. If you can go down, Mr. Turner, please. Okay, so, district-initiated searches. This is, again, standard policy language from the NMSBA that she just updated. She's defining that anybody entering into the school and the school property, that we are going to use our entry screening, or if we have another reason to suspect anything's individualized, we possibly could use the canine. You go up a little bit more, Charles, down, sorry. So when a search is permissible, these are the three items that I did want to point out, right? She's defined here very well for us. entry search into the school. That's the open gate detectors, right? If the detectors go off, that gives us individualized reasonable suspicion to again search a student further. She did make a note here that we could do an additional screening if they're triggered, kind of with a wand there. Obviously, that gets done in private. And she's going to help us once this policy is approved, write some regulations that define exactly how that looks. Okay. The preventative canine sweeps. We can have canine sweeps. The students are their property not expected to be there. There is always with our MOU. Typically these days, not like a lot of us when I were in school, where the dog goes through the classroom while we're in there. That's typically not how that works anymore. There's a procedure that's typically followed where the school's alerted that an area is going to be searched. Right, protocol is put in place. The students are taken away from the room, right, and the room itself is searched. And of course, if there's something that is indicated that's an issue in the room, we can search the room further. Or if if there's lockers or cars or things that the search policy allows us to search, that's canine sweep helps us cover that. And then of course the random wand searches. This is a portion of the policy that is again we would develop a very clearly defined regulation that says, again, we have a procedure to randomly pick a classroom at the high school, implement a protocol that would basically say, Class A today is going to have a random wand search. School's on a little bit of a hold, and then we have a procedure where those classes of their students are taken right, to a room next door, just for a quick wand pass through along with their belongings. If that wand does trigger something, then that student would be asked to go into an additional private spot to have a discussion about, hey, this wand went off. What can you tell us about what might have made this go off? And then, obviously, everybody go back to class. And these are three things that we've talked about to really, mitigate possible unsafe situations on campus, primarily with very dangerous weapons. Okay, Charles? I think that is all in the policy. Is that correct? Is that the whole policy part? Any questions about basic elements of this policy we need to go on and look at more? Are we generally okay with it?
Mine's a 2-pager, I think. I printed it.
Okay. Let's see.
But there's a,
Maybe
Down
we
here
did. Hold on.
in
I think there's one more. Let's see. Uh-oh. We closed it. Oh, there was 4 pages.
yeah.
There we go.
Double, yeah.
Keep going. Keep going. Okay. Go back up. Is this still this policy, right, Charles?
Yes.
Go back up a little bit, back to that second page. Sorry. Gotta find where it was. I lost my spot. There we go. Random wand searches, then go down. And then, of course, these are reasonable suspicion searches. This is just an updating saying that whether using a wand, a preventative canine sweep, right? If those things trigger an individual student, that's authorization for us to search that student further, right? Again, standard policy here, not many changes. So defining what kinds are authorized, and then she's again further defining here that we can do the canine sweeps. Seizing the prohibited items, she defined for us prohibited items as already defined in our policy, as well as weapons. And so most of the rest of this, to your question, Ms. Johnson, that really hasn't changed much from previous policy, right? The big substantial changes were those 3 in the middle. And then she did let us know this part about arrest. She struck it out because it was conflicting with the other part about arrest.
On the bottom of the 3rd page, though, she has superintendent highlighted.
Yes.
But I think it should be superintendent or his or her designee.
Okay.
Because that's how it's worded everywhere else.
You got it.
And if you were to not be there, then
You
that
got
would
it.
really.
Fair enough. Thank you, Ms.
I
Johnson.
think it gets confusing because in the policy itself, there's definitions
Okay.
that define superintendent does include designee.
Everywhere else,
It
it's
does
like
get
redundant,
confusing
so
in our
that's why-
policies.
Yeah.
You're right. And
I just don't want to tie our hands. If you're
yeah,
not
no,
here.
very, very fair, Ms. Johnson, and we'll get back with Mrs. Santiago on that. Okay, so that's a policy. We'll kind of get this sharpened up a little bit to get some clarification on those things. We'll bring it back. If we feel it's good to approve next month, great. If we need to do one more, it's fine. We already have an existing search policy that allows us to do what we do already. But this is really to get us in preparation for the arrival of our new equipment. This next one we're going to show you briefly is the regulation tied to the canines searches regarding this. So each one of these will have a regulation. Regulations do not require board approval, but it's, we want to make sure we go over with them, you in multiple scenarios. Okay, if you go up to the top there, Charles, just very quickly. Again, right, we have her tying these searches. She's added weapons, right, in addition to drugs, right, reminding that the search has to be in alignment with policy, and we can use the dogs in two ways here: designated areas, and if there's a reasonable suspicion, search. Talks about the dogs have to be trained. We have an MOU later from the Deming Police Department for their weapons detection canine. Again, she's just kind of clarifying and defining some terms here from an old regulation. Go down a little bit, Charles. Again, adding weapon. Prohibited canine sweeps based on reasonable suspicion. Again, kind of broadening what is unauthorized there besides just a weapon, including drugs as well. You go down some more. Again, clarifying and protecting the district and what kind of certified dogs that we use. And so again, more procedures. And again, right here, right, any physical search of a student after a dog may trigger on their belongings would be done confidentially and consistent with our policy about the search. So that is kind of a first draft of this policy about canines. Okay, a regulation. So anything that stuck out regarding this one as we go finalize and clarify this regulation, and then write one for the random searches, the random classroom wand searches, or the entry searches through OpenGate. Any feedback, or should we just proceed around this same path?
I think it's a great.
Sounds like a proceed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll proceed
To
and
me.
we'll go for it. And remember, we want to get the policy right? Because you're going to approve it. If we get the regulation a little mixed up, that's something that we can change without having to bring it back over and over, right? We just want to make sure we're in this, when we're writing our regulations, we're in the spirit of what's going on in the policy. So you'll see the policy more, maybe regulations less. So, okay, that was what I wanted to share about. Any other questions, President Crumley, about that one?
Any other questions or discussion by the board? Okay, on to creating a unified focus, core values, core purpose, and big goals.
Okay, so we have 3 schools this evening that are going to share with us, and I know last time I was having an opening the document problem. think we got this going, so I'll invite Principal Richmond and a team from Red Mountain up here to share a little about their core purpose, core values.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent W. We're here to present our vision, our goals, and the different components that we've been working on this year. Before I get started, I do want to introduce some of the people that we have here in it as a group. This is our Student Advisory Committee. This is something that we brought back from our community school meetings that Mr. Saucedo, the community school coordinator, and myself have attended in Albuquerque. And it gives the students an opportunity to have a voice in what we do at our school. So we're looking at more opportunities to increase that engagement, give them those experiences, those exposures, to help become future leaders in schools and outside of schools. Okay. So with that said, our vision is a thriving learning community where every student is inspired, empowered, and supported to achieve personal excellence. The purpose is to nurture confident, capable, compassionate learners who contribute positively to their world. The core values are respect, integrity, collaboration, community, curiosity and innovation, equity and inclusion. And our goals are to foster a safe, supportive, and inclusive learning environment, deliver engaging, rigorous, and relevant instruction, cultivate strong family community partnerships, and support whole child development. So the work that went into creating this, it's not just admin team get together, let's throw something out there that looks nice. We met with our teachers in our PLCs. I provided them with a survey. They gave us feedback. That was the first draft of what we came up with. We met with them in their PLC meetings to present kind of what they came up as a compiled list. We rehashed some of those things, brought it through our student advisory committee. They kind of talked about some of these parts. We explained what some of them were, got feedback from them, and then brought it back together, and this was the final product. Some of our core goals that we want to, that we've been working on, when it comes to cultivating strong family community partnerships, we do through our community schools. We have community events that we put on. We try to do them once a month. We've had, with a lot of success, we do paint nights. We do community movie nights where the Red Mountain community and their families are able to come to the movie theater and watch a movie. Those are the places where we're also having our PAC meetings, which engages a lot more family members. In the past, our PAC meetings were anywhere between 2 to 10 members. Doing them at these events, our last event, we had about 140 participants, and actually did the PAC meeting in the movie theater with all the parents and the children that were there as well. So it's ways of improving. Our goals are where we want to go. We're not there yet. Those are some of the things that we want to work towards, and we want to continue building those strong relationships with the community to make it an inclusive environment and a safe environment. That's my part. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our students. They're going to talk a little bit about their experiences in relation to our vision and our goals.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aiden Schulke, and I'm a part of our student advisory committee. And one thing that really helps us in our committee is our students have a voice in our school, and we get to make changes that us students want, not just what the staff want, what us students want to see in our school. And certain things that we would like to see, we get to put that out there and try to make those changes for our students. And we do a couple of things. One thing we do is a coat drive to help get coats for kids in need. Another thing is our food drive, helping families out. And like Mr. Richmond said, our paint night, and a couple other things like Star Max movie, just trying to help family engagement a little bit more and try to put our school out there a little bit more. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angel Chavez, and some activities that we have at our school include Honor Society, Student Council, after-school programs, and sports like cheer, football, basketball, soccer, baseball, and more. And we also have family engagement events like the coat drive and food drive.
Awesome.
The rest of the group is here for moral support. And they will also help field any questions that you all may have. Before we get to that part, though, I do want to say we have exceptional students at our school. We have some awesome parents. We have some really great engagement. And I don't think we highlight those things enough. So this is an opportunity to do a little bit of that.
Great job.
So we stand for questions.
Introduce them, the rest of them.
Ladies, just introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Leilani Calderon. Hi, my name is Emma Flora. Hi, my name is Daisy Enriquez.
The more you practice public speaking, the easier it gets.
That's right, that's right. Good job, y'all. Great moral support. Any questions for our middle schoolers?
No, I just have one comment.
Yes.
Having a little bit of history when it comes to PAC meetings, I really give you kudos for trying something new. Having 100 parents at a PAC meeting, that is awesome. That's a big deal, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Reyes from Columbus Elementary School.
Mr. President, Mr. Orozco, members of the board, Mr. Wogelbeth, I am Alfredo Reyes. I am the principal for Columbus Elementary, and I am honored to represent my elementary. we came together as a committee in Columbus to come up with the core purpose, core values, and our goals. And this year's slogan, we chose where cultures meet and education begins, because we thought that this is a way of incorporating both cultures from Palomas and Columbus, and being proud of that. Our core purpose is to celebrate and honor our culture while guiding every child to grow as bilingual, bicultural, and confident students prepared for success in school and in life. Our core values include culture and community. We honor our bilingual, bicultural, our heritage and traditions of both communities. Respect and responsibility. We care for both communities, our Mexican Palomas community and our Columbus community. Collaboration, growth and learning. Every child can learn, grow, and dream big, and we're there to support that dream. Safety and belonging. Every child deserves to feel safe, welcome, and proud of who they are. And our school-wide goals is academic excellence. We ensure that all students meet our or exceed grade level expectations in literacy, math through high quality instruction and support. Student engagement voice. Foster ownership of leading through project-based learning, bilingual opportunities, and real world connections, and positive school culture, and as well as family and community partnership. You guys have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Reyes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final, our final sharing today is going to come from Principal Castor at Bell Elementary School. Ms. Castor?
Good evening, everyone. So we built our core values and our core purpose off of this idea that we are all learners at Bell, and we want to continue to all be learners. So our core values are that every student and staff member is committed to growth and excellence by inspiring and empowering each other and rising to every occasion. We set some pretty specific goals to this year to work towards, so that next year when we revisit this idea, we can increase those goals. So our first was improving academic performance, with 85% of students showing at least 1 year's growth in reading and math. We're working towards increasing staff professional learning, with all staff gaining at least 15 hours of intentional PD. And I'm happy to report that we're a couple of hours away from meeting that goal. And then finally, strengthening that family engagement with increased attendance at PAC meetings, behavior recognition events, and parent involvement in the school. And luckily, I got to see these amazing performances first, so now I have new ideas for that. Our purpose, so the reason really driving these goals, is that everyone succeeds, and success is built on effort, reflection, and support. We foster a culture where challenges are embraced, goals are celebrated, and improvement is always possible. Questions?
Just a comment, I like that growth in reading.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So it does help, not only there, and then as they carry on, so.
Thank you. That's good. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Castor. We appreciate it.
Thank you. To policy update, continued discussion for policy K-2600, KJA relations with booster organizations. Mr. Adcock and Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner.
I'm not good at multitasking, I apologize. Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent W. The changes in green were done by Mr. Adcock based on the feedback that we received from you all last month. And rather than asking for approval, I figured we could go ahead and continue the discussion and see how you guys felt about the revisions. We tried to soften them up and add clarification as you all requested.
Any questions or discussion by the board?
And I'm gonna remind, because I know Ms. Johnson's new, right? It was really about making sure we rewrote these where they were, they were inviting to have parents serve on these boards, and committees while protecting, the financial situation here, right? And so I'd like to hear that, right? Will not be made solely by a district employee. So I think that does really support toward that. Of course, yeah, raffles and bingos, we can't be having those things. They're not typically, the game is typically not permitted under the Gaming Control Act in schools. Clarifying questions? Anything else in there work you need us to do? No, we'll look to bring it back.
I read it over. I appreciate the changes. Like I expressed a month ago, I think it's important that we're not shutting out people who work at Deming Public Schools from participating in fundraising because it benefits kids. I understand the risk that there is that somebody might not be truthful or steal, but I think that I just didn't want a policy that shuts people out entirely or makes them afraid to participate.
Very fair.
Thank you. And as much as I'd like to take credit for that, that was all Mr. Adcock.
Thank you, Mr. Adcock.
Thank you.
On to 2026 legislative brief.
Mr. Turner.
Yeah, that's me again. So, as you all know, we did begin the legislative session a couple days ago. Since then, Superintendent W. and myself have met with the Trenches group, which is a group of teacher representatives from every school site. We did provide them with this disclaimer to take back to their colleagues, encouraging their civil engagement, but making sure that they do differentiate their own personal involvement from that of the district stance from the legislative platform. We did get some of the pre-filed bills, and I did put that in your packet as well. There's a bill out there being proposed for that 80/20 health insurance coverage. Ms. Johnson, if you weren't here at the last meeting, because I wasn't,
I was.
we are asking that the state support a piece of legislation that would cover 80% of the health insurance for employees, and then the employee would cover their 20%. Some other things that are coming up that have some positive impacts on the district is Senator Ramos, our friend from Grant County that represents our area, is asking that it become law that the test results that Mr. Wolgamith has been going over with you all come out earlier in the year rather than December, January. So, and we do have an employee, Mr. Wyman, who's on a committee helping with that. Other than that, we have really been just watching it, keeping an eye on it. The committees will get to work. Some of them will start tomorrow. The House will start tomorrow, and the Senate on Monday, or backwards. We've gotten so much information over the last couple of days. We also gave this information to our principals and directors. Anything else, Mr. W.?
No, Mr. Turner, just want to remind, right, when we're up there in the legislative session, and as we move forward here in Deming to set goals and make decisions, for supporting the 80/20 statewide, which we're already doing, would then have hopefully a financial benefit back to us, making sure that we're working with our legislators to support other state agencies to help us with things outside of school that may have to do with CYFD and other things, JPO interventions to help the families at home so they can be in a situation where they can focus more in school. And they're really focusing on the elements of literacy, and that Senator Mimi Stewart of Albuquerque, big proponent of pushing literacy, so you're going to continue to see that, and we will push that as well while we're up there.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
The grow funds y'all are talking about that would help with the other agencies, would that help with the community school that they have going on at Red Mountain?
So our GROW funds are, right now the request is for the after-school program for automotive.
Okay.
We did learn last week or the week before, I don't remember, that those funds are going to be limited, so we'll see.
And I worded it wrong. I think it was one of your things we're going to push for helping the other agencies to help us
yes.
Oh, okay.
with the truancy and stuff like that. I worded it wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Madam President, Board Member Johnson, excellent point. I think that's a good insight while we're up there pushing for those. Really, that is something we can leverage through the schools, right? Funding community schools with additional funds, additional resources can help to reach out and support that, right? So I think that is a great context and great insight on how we can, another bit of language we can use that legislators will be familiar with. Community schools are a way to leverage that.
Anything else, Mr. Turner, to add?
No, so now that, Madam President, members of the board, now that we have provided this packet to our staff, I will send out the email, we'll make sure it gets posted on our website. Superintendent W and myself have been in contact with legislators since last week, so we will continue to represent the district and do what's best for our students first and our families.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the board? To our action items. A, consideration to approve budget adjustment requests. Mr. Adcock?
Madam President, members of the board, superintendent. One of the things I wanted to do real quickly is kind of talk about the different types of bars that we have. You'll notice that the bars listed here have a letter at the end of them. That designates what that is. Earlier in the consent agenda, they were all M's. Those are maintenance bars. So what that is, that's just a movement between different objects within a function. So it's all, example would be, if it's for direct instruction, we may be moving it from supplies to a software or something like that. So that's those that are usually in the consent agenda. The first bar that you see there is actually the first two. They're designated with a T. Those are transfer bars. So that's moving between functions. So if we have money that is in like direct instruction, but we need to move it to more of a support area, that's what a transfer bar does for us. The last two that you're going to see that are presented are I's. Those are increase bars. So those are bars that we already have some money in there, some budget in there, that we've gotten additional money for, that we're increasing those. A couple other bars that you may see throughout the year are IB bars. Those are initial budget bars. So if we got some initial funding for something throughout the year, you would get those. The other type would be a decrease bar. If we have to decrease it for some reason, a lot of times what that is for is we have to project what our cash balance is going to be for several different areas. And if we miss what that projection is, because we start that in March, and we're trying to project for what happens for June 30, we may have to come to you with a decreased bar because things got paid early or that wasn't anticipated. So just a couple of comments on the bars that I have presented there. Number 8, the food service bar. Back before COVID, food service had a large cash balance, and we were actually having to reduce that cash balance. In doing so, we asked for indirect cost to be transferred from there to the operational account. We also started doing charging utilities on a square footage basis to the food service. Since COVID, we had a big reduction in that cash balance because we continued to pay out for staff and those types of things without having the same number of meals. So what's happening now is operational would have to subsidize that food service. That is not an unusual circumstance across the country. But what this bar does is it says we're not going to collect indirect cost from food service to move to operational and then turn around and have to subsidize the fund back again. So what we're doing here is moving that indirect cost line that was approved to the food line so that they have a little more buffer in there to get us through the end of the year.
Mr. Adcock, and just clarify for our new board member, typically any kind of federal grant that comes in, we have to, they will pay us out an indirect cost. So what Joe is saying with all this cash balance is we had this indirect cost thing kind of going in, right? Sort of in circles, right? And now we're going to try to get that, you know, kind of back in a better spot.
Right, so yeah, instead of moving it from food service to operational and then back again, we're taking that circle out of there. The next one is an attendance transfer bar. This one, we're moving some salaries to additional compensation to better align that with what the grant was written for. The next one is transportation. This is rental fees. The way that rental fees work is as the contractors get a new bus, the state pays them a monthly rental fee to pay for that bus. And so this is an increased bar because later on in the agenda, you have an action item to amend the contract. This is the bar to allow us to pay those increased rental fees. The next one is on our GO bond, GEO bond. Those are for our library bonds. Every 2 years, we get an allocation for library funds. This is the 2024 allocation that we just received. That's the reason why it's an increase for there. We do have until June 30, 2028 to spend those funds. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Adcock. Any questions or discussion?
I just had a comment. I appreciate that you kind of educated us with the T and the, is there something that maybe you could put in writing, like a little cheat sheet, so that we could kind of use that to guide us? Because I didn't know
I
that
think
the letters in the back.
paperwork in our packet had that, because I saw somewhere in that, what you provided us individually says it.
We can definitely get you something if there's not something already in
Okay, thank you.
what those are.
Because I was wondering the same thing.
Okay, it says transfer up there.
So it tells the type,
So
but
I'll watch
again, a cheat sheet reminding of what is a transfer bar, is what you're asking. Like a cheat sheet for the definitions, right?
Right, I'd appreciate that. Thank
got
you.
it.
Madam President, members of the board, I'll also put the whole word rather than just the letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we consider the approval of a budget adjustment request, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
On to B, consideration to authorize the submission of the grid modernization grant application. Mr. Waldmuth, did you have anything else to add to the discussion from earlier?
Madam President, members of the board, based on what I heard earlier, you know, if I had to give a recommendation to the board, my recommendation would be to not approve at this time and really wait for us to get this other solar project in place and finished to see if we then could do something additional, right? We don't want to miss out on money, but we don't want to pile up so many projects that they're not getting done efficiently. So that would be my recommendation, but of course at the board's discretion.
I think the only other thing that I wanted to add, just to inform fellow board members, was that I had learned that Mr. Backus is involved in some current and recent lawsuits. And so I'm not making any judgments whatsoever, but I do think that that's a potential risk that we need to consider.
And also that there's no work being done. There's nothing happening, so we need to see something. I wish I could have just also told him if we could have seen the project completed. I mean, I would have approved it.
Well, I remember from the fall meeting in 2024, they were to break ground that Christmas break,
yeah.
and then all projects were to be completed in 2025. And so, I don't
And
know.
in his paperwork, it says in 2025 that the board unanimously voted yes. So when I was talking to Mr. Woolman, he was like, it wasn't in 25. So even that paperwork that he's going to put for a grant is not accurate. So,
Did you have a comment, Ms. Stauffer?
so bear.
You'll have to
Babs,
come to the
you'll need to
mic.
come here, Babs.
New system doesn't pick up the audio.
So a lot of things happened when we started this solar array project. There was an election, and at first the Department of Energy canceled all of the guaranteed energy program federal loans to people like Sunwell, Sunshine, lobbies, and everybody's have to go in, have to lobby, get them to readjust, get them to, still guarantee those loans. Politics, politics, politics. They moved the goalposts like 3 times. Meanwhile, and I don't know if any of you have had solar put on your property. Okay, I have. Took 17 months for 16 little solar panels, just to get it through PNM's process. So what these folks do is they engineer the panels and how they're gonna connect to the grid. And they submit that to PNM. PNM starts looking at the design. As soon as they see something they don't like, they stop it and send it all the way back to the beginning. Re-engineer it, send it back through 6 weeks, and they keep going down, okay, that's okay now. Then they go down to the next one and go, oh, we don't like this. Back to the beginning again. And there's like 33 of them. So that's why it's taken so long. I have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow, and we're gonna start on 3 on Monday.
Thank you.
At the field house, and at the bus yard, and at, the concession stand at the northwest corner of the stadium.
Well, thank you for that clarification, Babs, and I did provide them with the update. But again, again, to the point of, right, we'll get these things done, we'll get them finished, and then if there's additional grants that we can hook up in the future, right, for modernization, I think we could look at those. But I think there's some wisdom, again, the factors that Ms. Stafford described, but I think there's some wisdom in kind of putting a pause to get things in place and then go forward, with a possible additional project from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Babs.
Thank you.
Is there any motion in relation to this topic? Having heard no motion, the board will not take any action on this item. On to C, consideration to approve quote number 23118-00 for radio systems upgrade from Advanced Communications and Electronics in the amount of $697,000, sorry, long day, $561.97. Mr. Hasso and Mr. Villa?
Madam President, as Mr. Hasso and Mr. V are coming up, this is just a continuation of some safety upgrades in our district. This will bring us our digital radio systems into connectivity and modern functioning, therefore increasing communication with our between campuses, more flexibility, our buses with local law enforcement. So, Mr. Hasso, anything you'd like to add regarding this, or Mr. Villa?
Madam President, congratulations on the board and Superintendent Waltman. So yes, we've been looking at this for a while. I have with me also Mr. Michael Villa from Advanced Communications, and I'm going to let him speak in just a little bit in case you have any questions. But as we move forward with our safety and trying to do the improvements, one of the areas that we've been struggling in is communications. A couple of years ago, we had a lot more radios to the district. We were able to capture that grant and get that money. Jorge Awu had helped us do that. And so what we found is we're inundated with a lot of areas that we've added communications just for safety and security's sake. But that meant that we have a lot more people talking on the radio, so there's a lot more chatter going on, and so it's gotten a little bit difficult. As we started looking at, okay, what can we do to improve this? We talked about adding more channels. We're on an analog system right now. And then we decided, okay, we're going to go out and luckily, Mr. Awu had worked with Mr. Villa before, so he was able to bring him into the picture for us. And in talking to him and working with his company, we've been able to come up with what you're seeing now. Again, working with transportation, because as you know, we run the buses back and forth to the port. So in some areas, we actually lose the ability to have that communication. But, and then one of the buses that goes up to the U-Bus, he's so remote, it's so remote up there that he didn't have any. So we've worked with Mr. Villa, and we're working through all that. And we think we have a system that's gonna just absolutely help the district. On top of that, when Central Dispatch moves into their new facility, they will be going to a digital system. And now we will be able to add, they will be able to add Deming Public Schools to every single console that their operators are working out of. So again, just one advantage after another with that. I'll let Mr. Villa come up and speak a little bit about what he's helping us do.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent W. Michael Villa with Advanced Communications. We've been working with Mr. Hasso, Mr. Alu, and the Transportation Department for a little over a year now to discuss a new radio system for Denver Public Schools. They brought to us some significant challenges in terms of coverage of your district, not having communications in portions in your districts, also the lack of communication or ability to contact Columbus Elementary, and some issues regarding transportation. So what we've designed for the school district is a brand new digital radio system. It's key to when we switch from analog TV to digital TV overnight. We're doing the same to your current radio system. So we're bringing in new technology, more advanced technology, to ensure that there's proper communication and safety amongst the district. So with that, I can stand for any questions that you all have.
If this is approved, what kind of time frame for implementation?
Time frame for implementation, Madam President, Member Orozco, initially we have to do the license application with the Federal Communications Commission. That will happen relatively quickly within the next couple weeks. Then from there, we move into the equipment procurement, which takes about 6 to 7 weeks. Major milestones for the project would be to install brand new radios in the buses during the 2-week spring break. So a major milestone that we hope to accomplish, that way we're not interrupting your operations, is that. Continuing on for the project would take probably approximately 6 months. There's a lot of infrastructure that has to go up, agreements with the county that we've got to initiate and amend, testing, and then there's going to be ongoing training and testing of the system.
And so it won't go live. So we'll have the existing radios until that time, and then you flip a switch and go live. And okay.
So I had a question on the equipment. So the equipment that we currently have, what's going to happen to, is that equipment able to roll over, or are you going to have to get complete new equipment for people's personal radio?
Madam President, Member Baez, so the old equipment can be returned back to the district. It is, in some instances, over 15 years old. The particular equipment is...
Can be donated to the museum. We used this at one time.
Essentially,
it's outdated.
It's outdated, and I'm sure Mr. Adcock would advise that it's probably meant.
We'll get that on one of Mr. Glicker's lists.
Yeah, we need to get on that list. It'll probably come up for disposal later in your agenda for the year, but no, we're proposing all brand new equipment to replace existing.
Some of our old radios that we purchased, the 100 that we purchased a couple of years ago, were purchased digital, so they have that option. So they would be able to be programmed, and we could actually utilize them if we needed.
So there would be some that you could actually connect.
The vast majority of the equipment is beyond useful.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is for the entire fleet, so all the buses would be upgraded.
I would hope so for that price. Any other questions or discussion by the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve the quote from Advanced Communications and Electronics in the amount of 697,000.
You have to say it really slow.
561.97.
I'll second that.
Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Hasso, I think you're still on the hook. On
No,
to
Joe's watching me.
consideration to approve quote number 073268 for weapons metal detection systems and equipment from CEIA USA in the amount of $134,495. Mr. Hasso and Mr. Bada.
And while Benny gets to share, again, this is some of the equipment we've already demoed for a couple I think you attended. So this is just approving us to make the purchase.
And again, just repeating the history that we reported last time at the President's Board and Superintendent. We attended the NASRO conference in Grapevine and were able to actually see these operational. And the ease of use, and again, you got to see them here, is just going to fit everything that we had planned to do with them, especially at the high school. And then again, having those wands that detect the different thicknesses of metal. So when we're looking for vapes, we know we're detecting a vape is going to be so critical to us. So yeah, it's great, and I appreciate the board considering and elected to hopefully let us purchase this equipment.
I just got one comment to say. I think it's a great idea, Mr. Hasso. You've always pushed the district safety in the forefront. And so the only thing I say is we bought some at the high school. The only thing I have to say is just make sure we use them, because them other ones, every time I went to the high school, they were just there. So that's the only thing. Make sure we use
There's a
them.
policy now in place, we can actually
Yeah.
put those in the
I want to make sure.
Yes, yes. Madam President, Member Kroll, yes, thank you to your point that they have been there. Technically, we needed a policy first to use them, though the two Garrett systems that have been hanging out at the high school are a different type of system. I think once this policy goes through, there may be a space or place to use those. I think a big difference, these open gate are very transportable, movable. The Garretts aren't, but the policy covers our ability to use both. So I think we may have an ability to use those somewhere, that previous purchase.
100%.
Mr. Hasso, how many sets or wands does this cover, and where are you intending to use them?
We purchased five sets. 2 for sure we're going to the high school, because we have 2 different entrances that we access on a daily basis, on a regular basis, I should say. And then we were looking at 1 for Red Mountain, 1 for early college, and I thought we talked about 1 for Deming Intermediate. And then the same with the wands. We were going to distribute the wands. What did we purchase? 7? I think we purchased 7.
It's like 5.
So the bulk of them,
About 5.
the bulk of them are going to high school, and then Red Mountain definitely needed. That's where we see the most vapes being collected, is at Red Mountain. So staff needs the ability to detect those, because the kids are getting a little bit smarter about where they hide them. And so since we can't do on-hand personal searches, we have to be able to at least detect the vapes and know that they're there.
And then if this were approved, how soon would we be looking at implementation?
They're waiting to ship. The second that he sent me the quote, he already had the equipment ready to go. So it's just a matter of.
And President Crumley, relative to time of implementation, so we'll get these ordered in, then they have agreed to come down and support and do training. Okay, we're kind of in the middle of the year, kind of weird timing. think if we can get all this in and get some information out, I think we could see a good, full, effective implementation at the start of next year, but possibly some pilot, right? Some pilot implementation, because we have this policy. If we put them up, we don't have to use them every day, right? If we want to say, hey, we let the community know, here's our new search policy, these things may be present. We're just going to try this on a Monday to kind of see how it goes, and test that out. So by the time we get to the start of next year, we go, you know what? We need an additional one at Red Mountain or an additional one here. We have an opportunity to purchase those. So just because we order these, as long as our policy's in place, they don't have to be up every day. We can sort of pilot that and work out
One of
the
the
kinks.
things that he brought to us also was best practices.
Yes.
So he was talking to us about what everybody else is doing around the country and what's worked and been really efficient and successful. And so that's the other part of it, the education piece, telling us what's worked for a lot of other districts.
And is that training piece part of this cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's no additional costs to this system is what I loved about it, because the other system that we were looking at, I won't say the name, but there was a $20,000 every year we had to renew that licensure and updates, and it was just, it wasn't user-friendly. It was bulky. It was going to get set in one location, and that was the only location we were going to be able to use it in. These are so portable. The one thing that he did tell us at this last training, they just recently went from a 10-hour battery on a full charge to a 20-hour battery on full charge. So if we're using them out on the fields, whether it's baseball, football, if we graduation, they're going to last the length of time that we need them to.
Any other questions or discussion by the board? Is there
I make
a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve quote number 073268 for weapons metal detection system and equipment from CEIA USA in the amount of $134,495.
I'll second that.
Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Watson.
Thank you.
Your continued support as we move forward.
Yeah.
On to E. Consideration to approve a resolution authorizing the disposal of technology items through public auction. Mr. Glickler.
Superintendent Loveman, members of the board, President Crumley. You have before you a list of 182 technology items that we're requesting approval to dispose of via a public auction. The vast bulk of these items are not required to be tagged per district policy or New Mexico law, but we tag them anyway because they're computers. We want to make sure we know where they are, and just the sheer volume of computer we have in the district, it makes sense. But nevertheless, we do like to get your approval to dispose of them. There are 9 items on the list that are exceptions. By exceptions, I mean most of these items are from between 2011 and 2018. Almost all of them are under $1,000. But there are 9 that are over 1,000. Of those 9, 3 of them are some physical servers that we got in 2016, 2017. We've really moved away from physical servers. We have a lot of virtual servers instead, and we just don't need as many physical servers at school sites, and they're pretty obsolete. There are also a couple of laptops in that list, but they are by and large broken or old. We did find a couple of things in that list of 9 that are more recent. Of one of them is a broken laptop that is beyond repair and out of warranty. Another is a device that was part of the camera system that when we evaluated it, we found that it was fine. So we were pulling it from the list and we are not selling it. We're putting it back on our shelf in case it can be used somewhere. With that, I stand for any questions.
Any questions by the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the disposal of technology items through public auction.
I'll second that.
Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On to F, consideration to approve proposal from ASE Construction LLC for $217,117.26 for restroom renovations at Deming High School Auditorium. Ms. Stauffer.
And while Ms. Stauffer is preparing here, this has been kind of a project that's been in the works. This was some money that we received from a special appropriation from the PED, a special appropriation from the legislature to pay for part of this. In addition, last summer, the prior superintendent did ask the PED to allow us to use some operational money to complete this project. So basically, this is money for this is money that is kind of specially put aside for this project. I just want to let you know that. Ms. Stauffer.
Yes. President Crumley, Vice President Orozco, members of the board, and Superintendent Vogelman. You have presented to you quotes to renovate the restrooms which were built in 1972 in the auditorium to ADA, modern ADA standards. The restrooms have already been abated, and that abatement took out all of the wall tile, a lot of the sheetrock in the ceilings, and so we'll be replacing bathroom accessories, fixtures, modern faucets, etc. So I'm asking you to recommend ASE Construction to perform the work for $217,117.
And just a super quick clarification before you consider your motion. Ms. Johnson, asbestos abatement is what happens with these projects in older buildings. You first have to abate the asbestos, which is a whole thing, and then you can proceed with construction. Just for clarification.
I actually wrote it to the slide.
Okay, just as clarification, okay? President Crumley. Sorry, thank you.
Any questions or discussion by the board?
No, I would want to thank Senator Ramos. That's how we were able to get this, and really appreciate him helping us out in this situation. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Any other comment?
Make a motion to approve the proposal from ASE Construction LLC for $217,117.26 for renovations at Deming High School.
I'll second that.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back.
On to consideration to adopt amendments to policies I-6800, IKAB, report cards, progress reports, and I-6900, IKACA, parent conferences, with the first read held last month, December 18th. Mr. Wyman.
While Mr. Wyman's making his way up, just these were some slight modifications that we made to, again, ensure we're notifying parents about their kids' literacy needs, but making sure we were doing it in a timeline that was sensible, so that met the district's needs and didn't tie our hands. Mr. Wyman, anything additional you want to add, unless there's clarifications?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Wardwood, these are just some proposals to updates to these two different policies. As we discussed last month, the state did remove these requirements several years ago, and so we'd like to continue to voluntarily comply with that, but we would like to bring that into kind of date with the state's expectation for literacy assessment, specifically targeting grades K2, as well as shifting to a parental choice for the conference as opposed to kind of mandated conferences for students. So with that, I'll stand.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion for consideration to adopt amendments to policies I-6800. Numbers are a little hard to read. And IKAB, report cards, progress reports, and I-6900.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll second that.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
I've been out of practice for a little while. Need a couple meetings.
Well, the numbers are hard, like. On to H, consideration to approve a resolution authorizing the removal of a district vehicle from the asset inventory, 2024 Chevy Suburban, declared a total loss following a crash and insurance settlement.
Mr. Turner.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent W. I would like to say I love that I am next. The superintendent and I got into a debate on how the policy should be listed. You would have thought we didn't like each other with how hysterical we got. So now the debate continues. But this item H, is to approve the resolution to remove a district vehicle from the asset inventory. I believe it was early November when we had some employees up in Albuquerque for a training. A person ran the red light, hit our vehicle. It was deemed a total loss by the insurance, and we should be getting back around $55,000 to replace that vehicle. We did have a couple employees get checked out by the EMTs. One went to the hospital. I won't violate their rights if they want to say that they were involved. They're here. They can tell you they were okay. But other than that, we ask that you approve this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any discussion or questions by the board?
The car's getting replaced right away, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Madam President, members of the board, for the live stream, the answer was yes.
Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to consider to approve the resolution authorizing the removal of a district vehicle from the asset inventory, 2024 Chevy Suburban.
I'll second.
Mr. Crowe?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
Okay, on to I, consideration to approve Third Amendment to Fleet Service Contract with M&T Buses Incorporated, specifically to amend bus rental fees with the contractor. Ms. Mona.
Good evening, Superintendent W, President Crumley, congratulations, and members of the board. I also have M&T here with me. I made sure they were here in case my questions. But I'm here this evening to request your approval of the Third Amendment to the Fleet Service Contract with M&T Buses Incorporated, specifically regarding to amend the bus rental fees with the contractor. So M&T recently received one new bus. I believe it was in November. They had received two. They've received another one. This is listed in Appendix A, Part 1. Appendix A also shows the current bus and the new one that will be replaced, which is the bus. Appendix A outlines the updated rental fees for each of for this bus, $35,051. It's based on the 2025 New Mexico PED amortization chart. And on Appendix B, the rental fee increase also aligns with the total estimated budget, which is reflected, $1,522,388.80. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions?
Nope.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Third Amendment of the Fleet Service Contract with M&T Bus Incorporated, specifically to amend bus rental fees with the contractor.
I'll second that.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to J, consideration to adopt academic calendar for the 2026-2027 school year.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
You don't have anything, Melanie?
She's got it up here.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
She's got-
Well, we gotta do more of these.
Yeah, no handout, no handouts for us.
She got it memorized.
Is there an extra of this?
Gosh, here, you can have mine.
You can have this.
We need 2 more.
Oh, no, here. Why not a good calendar? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, what's up?
Ah, you have them.
Thank you.
Okay, do you know?
No,
No,
sorry.
No.
This is just.
Okay, let's get into the meeting.
Okay, Ms. Reinhardt, thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent W., we come to you tonight for your consideration to adopt an academic calendar for the 26-27 school year. To reiterate what we talked about last month, we did do a survey for all staff, parents, community members to participate in the survey. We took those results and we created 2 options, option A and option B, solely based on responses from stakeholders. From those surveys, we have the data from overall data for the, let's get it all up here. So overall results, calendar option A was 47% voted for that. For calendar option B, 53% of the people that completed the survey answered that. But I wanted to also break it up so we can get a context of who the stakeholders were. So based on parents and students, calendar option A had 55% of the votes. Calendar option B had 45% of the votes. If you look at staff, 40% of the staff wanted option A, 60% of the staff wanted option B. And then if you look at the staff members that are in both categories, staff and family, 55% wanted option A and 45% wanted option B. And so we are going to, this team, we're here to stand for any questions that you have about either options or the process.
Let me add just a couple clarifying things. So if you go back, Charles, to that original one that shows the overall voting. So all things considered, a 53-47 split is pretty, kind of pretty close, 50-50 down the middle. And so those other 2 contexts sites got to give you context of, hey, which groups were preferring which one. One bit of context that's not in here that I will tell you, I have the Trenches leadership team that's made up of a member of each student from each secondary school, and they, I showed them kind of discussed the options today with them, and I said, hey, I'm going to go to a meeting tonight. Which option of these 2 would you prefer? And just FYI, right, this is about 12 secondary kids. They said, well, we prefer option A. And I want to tell you kind of a little context that is. One, they 2 things from the kids. Less interruptions, right? We're in school. We're going to keep going. And then down here on May of 2027, they were like, well, yes, we lessened 1 week of spring break, so we could end before Memorial Day. Both calendars end before Memorial Day, right? The official start of summer. We had some requests to have a longer summer. That's the place that it happens easiest. And they were like, well, and a senior there, we have senioritis, right? Second semester is going, the sooner we can get out, the better. And I think sometimes a spring will drag on. That becomes kind of the sentiment of teachers and kids. So that's, I think, the way they kind of preferred, the students preferred that one because, again, it's getting out that little bit of a week earlier. So either calendar, I think, can support the academic needs and professional development of our staff. And so really, we're here to answer questions, provide clarity, and go from there.
And we did provide in your packet copies of the surveys that were given before the options were created, in case you wanted to refresh any of your memories about why we might have developed the calendar a certain way. So they're also there for you to look at if you have questions.
So the first one, how many people filled that one? Because this shows that this option A versus B, only 451 people filled it out. Is that accurate?
Total, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's not that's not actually that's a pretty,
I think that's a high number.
That's good. It's a
actually.
decent, I'm gonna say, that is a decent,
Yes.
that is a decent response.
me, I'm like,
Yeah, that is a decent response rate.
It is only, it's unfortunate that people don't participate in the surveys as much as we'd like, but this is actually a pretty big turnout.
But you'll hear from them now. Once we vote on it, then you'll hear from those people. that-
Oh, no, I've already been hearing, yeah, that's, I'm like,
That's usually how it goes.
yeah.
The only suggestion I'm gonna make for the next time we do it, and I know it's possible, to get a real accurate, I'm not saying we have to, people can be anonymous, but I know that, because several people told me that they voted more than once. And
So that skews the results.
that skews the results, and so if later on, we can figure a way to make sure we get some, I'm all for anonymous or however they wanna do it, it's fine. But we need to get accurate results if possible. There's gotta be a way.
Survey Monkey, there's a way where it's like you've already done this survey, like if you click on it again from the same like IP address or something? Because I've seen that before.
Madam President, members of the board, again, I'm having a little flashback to in my last job when I had to do calendars. Same feedback, Mr. Kroll, and in duplicates. And so I think there's some value as we go through next year, and budget process is coming up. A good opportunity to look at survey, equipment, survey software, and sometimes a Microsoft Forms, or Google Form can do that. But I think get what we need. I think other surveys, to your point, right? We want to make sure we're getting sort of an individual answer. I do want to share one thing that I want to point out, and again, like I said, as a learning services team, and either calendar is good. I will always argue that the less interruptions that you're having, the better attendance that you're going to have. Sometimes we have shorter weeks in calendar B. You may have some absences, but I get right. We want to spread out a couple of different PD days throughout there. Major differences with B, you'll notice on A, no vacation day on November 11th, which has been traditional here for the Veterans Day programs. I think the Veterans Day programs are excellent. But that was a request from the community. Can you make us a calendar that has Veterans Day off? That is reflected on calendar B. Another difference in February of 2027, calendar A, not the individual day off for President's Day. Calendar B does have President's Day off. Again, many school districts throughout the state no longer take off President's Day. A lot of parameters the state has for us to try to squeeze in the days and the hours in a certain amount of time. Again, with that goal of extending the summer, trying to get off before Memorial Day. And again, the other difference there is on calendar B, the start date for everybody is like a couple of days, like 1 or 2 days later. Then we took one of those front-end PD days and put it in for a PD day in March. Okay, so those are the general differences. However, I was having some conversations because after this, we're going to have to, whichever calendar real quick, we're going to have to kind of separately decide about graduation. We know graduation at Deming High School is typically always on a Friday, and we're going to continue to, we're obviously going to continue to do that, but we wanted to get an approval first. One thing I do want to note, if you look on draft A, okay, you'll see the Wednesday, the 19th is a purple day. It's a half day of students. And then the 20th is a staff day, right? That's an opportunity for, 17th and 18th to do your, and the morning of the 19th to do your finals at your high schools. Then you're off half a day. Teachers do their grades, check out, and everybody's kind of done by the end of the day on the 20th with no kids, right? Everybody can kind of then be off, right? Our goal would be possibly to put graduation on Friday the 21st. That way it's the last thing everybody does, right? We're not having school. Then there is some stress. I was a high school principal to putting the graduation ceremony on, having graduation, and then coming back to school, okay? Calendar B allows for the same thing. However, it's a week later because of those shifts in the kind of the start date and those extra vacations. If you do choose to go for option B, I'm going to ask to make one little edit here in a conversation that kind of came up, and it's very easy, tied to those last couple of days of school, okay? Basically, what I would propose, so we can make sure that the purple day, the purple day is the 26th, right, the half day, and then the blue day is the 27th, right? So you're just basically taking the purple and blue day, shifting them over once, then we could have DHS graduation on the 28th. So the last week, right, matches in sequence of calendar A, right? So we have school day on Monday, school day on Tuesday, half day Wednesday, and staff day on the 27th, with possibly graduation on the 28th. How do we do that? We would turn the 16th of April on calendar B into a red vacation day, right? That would push everything back one day. There's a benefit in that if we need an additional inclement weather day for wind, all right? And we get to the middle of April and go, man, we've had a lot of wind days. We could mark the 16th as a vacation day or inclement weather day. So it pushes back and give us that last week of alignment that would look the same on both calendars, or school day, half day, staff day, graduation on Friday. That's something that kind of came up after we kind of put that out as a consideration we did look at. So if you go with option B, I would ask you to include those edits I just described. That's not typically too big of a deal. So either one we can go for, and that's really up to the board. B with those edits I please mentioned. Questions we could try to answer.
Any discussion or comment, or I'll entertain a motion.
Which calendar did you say has the least amount of interruption for instruction?
The count.
A?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve calendar A.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Hear what you said.
Approve calendar A.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry, Mr.
I did.
Mr. Kroll.
Mr. Kroll made the motion?
And I'll second.
Second by Ms. Paez.
For option A. Second by Ms. Paez.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
No.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.
Okay. Any board member requests for items or information for the next meeting? Okay, there being none, the board will be traveling to Santa Fe from February 4th through the 7th of this year to attend the New Mexico School Boards Association Legislative Conference. The next regular meeting will be held February 19th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Emmett Shockley Administration Building, 400 Cody Road. Next and last is to adjourn the open meeting to enter into closed executive session. There will be no action in closed executive session. The purpose of the closed executive session is for the board to discuss limited personnel matters as permitted by 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically the mid-year evaluation of the superintendent. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Cole?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Paez?
Yes.
Mr. Orozco?
Yes.
Mrs. Crumley?
Yes.
Mr. Crow, yes.